where we speak with experts, leaders, and change makers about movements of social change that have transformed the landscape of Canada and the way we live our lives. We're in Saskatchewan today speaking with Harold Chapman, longtime activist, organizer, and educator of the cooperative movement in Canada. What do you think about what it is about Saskatchewan that made it so ripe for the cooperative movement? Why it was here that it really took off in a big way? Do you have any idea in your mind why that might have been?
Yes, I do. Saskatchewan was settled in the late 1800s and the early 1900s. And it was settled by people from Ontario, from the States, plus many people from different countries in Europe.
Right.
And they very quickly found themselves at the mercy of railroads to transport their products, at grain companies who were able to set the prices and grades and this sort of thing, and any financial institutions as well that they needed to borrow from.
Right.
So very, very quickly they found that they were up against monopolies. And and in the meantime, there were a number of these folks who had experienced cooperatives, either in England or in Ontario before coming here. So they had experienced organizations where they took control of things.
Right.
So this was basically what led the people in Saskatchewan to say, we can do this ourselves. And we need to do it ourselves because we're up against monopolies.
Right.
Of all kinds, both with regard to marketing of products as well as things that they needed, such as machine companies. The machinery was all manufactured mostly in Ontario in the States, and then shipped out from Dubai here, and other products that they required was all made someplace else and then sold to them here. So they found that they had a need to set up their own organizations,
right,
if they were going to be able to control these things.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And what about you? So that's sort of explains how, very well explains actually Saskatchewan's role as one of the precursors to the big cooperative movement in Canada. You, what pulled you into this whole area? What was it? Something personal? Something professional? Only was it? What inspired your involvement to such an incredible extent?
Well, it was both, but certainly I was raised on a farm, and it was during the Depression that Dad gave up his farm near Saskatoon here that he'd been on for 18 years, and in which the mortgage was higher at that time than it was when he bought the farm in 1916 because of crop failures and difficulty in making payments.
Right.
So he gave up the farm, and we moved up to Mescana, which is about 125 miles northeast, but it was in the park area where they weren't experiencing crop failures.
Okay.
But in the meantime, Dad had become a member of the Saskatchewan Wheat Pool, and I was with Dad when he used to shovel the grain into a boxcar because the local private elevator company, wouldn't take grain and deliver it to the wheat pool. So I had that kind of experience, and my dad and mother were interested in this sort of thing. But then when I started university, and incidentally I enrolled in university the day the war broke out. So I spent my years at university taking Army training, but they permitted me to carry on until I graduated.
What did you study at university?
I studied agriculture.
Okay. Yeah.
And I specialized in farm management, and I took a class in cooperatives. And it was that class in cooperatives that really stimulated my interest And also, it also gave me the qualifications required that when the Department of Cooperatives was looking for somebody to help to organize cooperative farms for veterans,
Mm-hmm.
they went to the professors at university that I studied under, and they gave them my name. And I was still in the Army at that time,
Yeah.
but at the time that I was hired to work with the Department of Cooperatives. But it was that interest, and then when they offered me this job, then I was really interested in taking it on. And but once I started work in this field, then I was working with co-op leaders in Saskatchewan,
Okay.
and in Canada.
Okay.
And those leaders really helped me to develop my philosophy of, with regard to cooperatives and their role in the economy.
And you said your philosophy with regards to it. Is it a
Yeah.
specific philosophy that you want to share?
Well, we all have philosophies. Some folks used to tell me, well, you've got a philosophy because you understand or agree with co-ops.
Yeah.
I tell people, we all have philosophies. And it's basically the things that we believe in that guide the things that we do.
Right.
And but with the cooperative philosophy, that it raises the question as to whether people have the ability to do things for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
or whether they have to depend upon others to carry on their business. For example, marketing or purchasing, or with credit unions, borrowing. And some people are under the impression that you have to deal with big business, with specialists, guys that really know how to run these shows. My philosophy that was developed indicated that the average person has got a lot of ability to run these things themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing is, as I mentioned earlier, and as I mentioned in my book, if people are going to successfully operate a business, whether it's marketing or whether it's a store or a credit union, they need training to help them to understand how to operate a business.
Right.
Looking after the finances, and running a meeting, for example. And because a cooperative is organized by members, they elect a board of directors, mm-hmm. and the board of directors elect a chairman from among themselves, and appoint a treasurer, and appoint a secretary, and these are all technical things that need to be done, and people need to have the training required to carry them out effectively.
Absolutely.
So
when you look back, I mean, you wrote a book about it.
Yeah.
You've had time to reflect
Yeah.
on all the years and all that you've done.
Yeah.
What could you think of a couple of the moments that you're most proud of, or a couple of things that you're proud of in terms of what you've done, you've been able to be a part of those, especially those early years or later? Is there anything that comes to mind? You're like, wow, I really.
Well, there's one of the things is the development of the Cooperative Training Center.
Mm-hmm.
But I had some experience with setting up training programs and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But however, when I took on the job with the Cooperative Institute, which became Western Cooperative College, my job was to help managers and directors of cooperatives to effectively learn their jobs. People were starting to tell me, how do you know that I learn anything from being in here for a week? How do you know that you're effective?
Yeah.
Well, this led to my involvement with meetings with people across North America who were in similar roles to what I was in, with cooperative training centers.
Mm-hmm.
And this led to the development. What we did, we were holding an annual institute, a cooperative educational institute, and it led to us needing to set up an international organization, the Association of Cooperative Educators.
Okay.
And this was made up of people, both in universities as well as in cooperative organizations, such I was in, who were responsible for developing training programs for people working with co-ops.
Right.
So I was involved in developing the bylaws for that organization. This was in the mid-1960s, and then getting it incorporated, and it was incorporated in the province of Minnesota in the States.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on the first board. I was vice president of the first board of that organization.
Oh.
That organization is still meeting
Today.
And I was invited to be a speaker at it 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
At their annual meeting.
Nice.
2 years ago.
In Minnesota?
No, this was in Montreal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this this challenge of helping people to learn,
Mm-hmm.
to be effective in their jobs, whether their job is a member of a co-op, a director, a manager, a treasurer, secretary. It's just critical that they know their job and are carrying out it effectively. And this is the thing that has really continued to spark my interest over the years.
And that continues, it has always been what sparked a big part of your interest, right?
Yeah. And it was helped by the guy, the co-op manager one time, who asked me, how do you know when I send people into a course that they learn anything?
Mm-hmm.
So I had an answer for him, but it sure, among other times, really made me think about how adults learn. And I've got quite a bit of stuff in my book
About
on how adults learn. Yeah.
That's amazing. I never anticipate that it would have such strength and be such a powerful force in Canada.
Well, my answer to this is that, and with my experience with co-ops over the years,
Mm-hmm.
when I started work with cooperatives, when we first developed the cooperative college, all of the major cooperatives in Saskatchewan and in Western Canada became members of the college. When people first settled in Western Canada, cooperatives became developed for every product that was raised in Western Canada. So there was the wheat pools handling grain, United Grain Growers. There was a dairy co-op. There was a forage cooperative. There was honey producers co-op, livestock marketing co-op, poultry marketing co-op. These were all part of the co-op college when I started there. Now, the only one of those, I think, that's still operating is the Honey Producers Co-op in Tisdale.
Mm-hmm.
The Saskatchewan Wheat Pool wound up about 15 years ago, after 74 years.
Hmm.
These other co-ops, the same kind of thing happened to them, that they eventually became joint stock companies.
Interesting, yeah.
And with a joint stock company, they're in business to make money for their shareholders.
Right.
Not to make money for the producers.
Quite different from their origins.
Quite different from the origin. Now, so I'm thinking of the saying that a people's organization without an adequate educational program will last a generation and a half. Now, the Saskatchewan Wheat Pool's generation and a half was 74 years. It's a matter of definition there.
Right.
A number of the others weren't that long.
Right.
So, but we still have strong retail co-ops, and we still have strong credit unions.
Yep.
Across Canada, but they are depending upon members who understand what their role is in the co-op and are carrying it out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a simple thing
Yeah.
of knowing their job and carrying it out, whether it's a member, whether it's a director or a manager. And so so the challenge continues to be there.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
And that has always been a challenge, or
It's always been a challenge.
has it gotten a bigger challenge now, though, or just constant? That's always.
I think it's a constant
Yeah.
challenge.
Okay.
That's all.
And you see that
constant
continuing that way.
challenge. Yeah, it's a constant challenge.
Okay.
Because there are plenty of people that say that as I wound up my statement there are plenty of people that say that people don't have the ability to run their own affairs.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do it for them,
Right.
and they'll pay us. My philosophy is that people do have the ability, but they need to have the training required so that they know their job and are carrying it out effectively.
Right.
So that's it.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today on the History of Social Change podcast. I'm your host, Elisa Birnbaum, publisher and editor of Sea Change magazine and producer of the History of Social Change project. Be sure to stay tuned as we discuss other social change movements that have transformed the landscape of Canada and the way we live our lives.